So I finished an awesome game on the Virtual Console a couple days ago, and that was Ys Book 1. And very, very enjoyable game. Just going to give you my brief opinions on it real quick. So in this game you play as a red-haired adventurer named Adol, and he arrives in the land of Hysteria, which is overrun by monsters. And shortly after that he travels, or he embarks on a quest to track down the books of Ys. And you know, I've given you just the abridged version of it. The story is a little bit more in-depth than that, and it's actually pretty good, especially considering when it came out. And you know, of course, the story is told through your classic text boxes. There's also some cutscenes in the game too, and talk about the cutscenes in a minute. But one of the things with the cutscenes is there is voice acting, and voice acting back then is generally pretty bad. This game was actually quite good, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. You know, I never was reaching for the mute button or cringing or anything like that. It was really well done. And with the cutscenes, there's something really cool that the TurboGrafx-CD does that, well, at least the games I've played. You know, they have this really nice, awesome artwork, and they just animate little bits of the drawing or whatever. And you know, they only have 4 or 5 frames of animation, but it just looks really nice. It's got a really nice old school charm to it, and I love it a lot. And you know, there's not a ton of cutscenes in the game, but you know, they're all really well done. They look gorgeous, great voice acting, moves the story along nicely. And graphically, it's, you know, pretty much your 16-bit RPG goodness. It's the only minor quibble I have with the graphics is in the dungeons, some of the enemies, it's kind of hard to tell what they're supposed to be. But other than that, the game looks great. And you know, when you're on the overworld map, the game does resemble you know, your classic Zelda or Newtopia. And until you actually get into combat, you'll quickly discover that you have no attack button, and you actually defeat enemies by bumping into them. And it does sound kind of stupid at first, but it's actually a lot of fun. And you know, you can't just mindlessly bump into them because you'll be staring at a game over screen rather quickly. There is definite technique to it, and once you get that down, combat becomes really fun, and it's, you know, really easy to level up, and just makes the game play a lot quicker. Now, my favorite part of this game is the soundtrack. The music in the game was composed by the same person who did ActRaiser on the Super Nintendo, which was an amazing soundtrack and great game. I'd like to do a review on that one sometime in the future. It really doesn't sound like ActRaiser music though. It actually resembles Lunar or Silver Star Story on the PlayStation 1. It's just got that classic 80s RPG sound to it. And one of my favorite things was going in the final dungeon. You know, you're walking around defeating monsters, leveling up. You got this kick-ass music going in the background, and then all of a sudden you have these crazy guitar solos going in the background. And you know me, I've been a fan of metal for over 20 years, so I can definitely appreciate that. Yeah, so you know, great soundtrack, and the boss music was one of the best boss themes I've ever heard. It just got your adrenaline pumping. Oh, and the bosses, I forgot to talk about those. Bosses are actually quite challenging. The end boss, I know the end boss gives a lot of people problems. I actually managed to beat him on my second try. But the 2 bosses, or 3 bosses before that, it took 10 to 15 tries for those. And, you know, it was challenging, but it was never wanna throw your controller challenging, you know. It was always I know I can do it this time. I know I can do it this time, you know. Just keep coming back to it. Yeah, and I think that's about it. The game can be completed in about 10 hours. It's relatively short, just a handful of dungeons and towns, which isn't a bad thing because there's a high level of quality throughout the whole game. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I can say about it. It's an excellent adventure, definitely a classic. One of the best RPGs I've played recently, and best part about it is I still have book 2 to go through. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.